Karibu na wewe pia.
No. You want in English?
In English, please.
So if we look on our 4 panels we have here, we can see the size of the panels. So this will give us some idea of how many watts these panels are. You see? So we've got 4 panels, 315. So if we look at this, we've got well over 1,000 watts of power. So we connect all our panels together through these cables and connectors, through these black cables, through the pipe, into our unit, through the unit here, into our charge controller. So we can see from our charge controller that we have 26.8 amps coming in to charge our batteries. This monitors and controls what we're charging, and this other big box here converts what we have coming in from our batteries on these cables in the other. Those are 26 volt DC batteries. This allows us to charge, and also it's an inverter as well. So this will convert the 26 volt DC into our 230, 220 volt AC, which comes down this cable here. So now it's all live. We have another display here. It is a color display which tells us exactly what's going on. So just watch your fingers, don't go in here, but we can see here that we have PV power. We've got 726 watts, so that's fantastic. We can see the line going into a battery, so we can see that's charging really well. Grid we don't have. We have an option to connect to a generator or to grid supply, but we don't need to here. We've got great solar, and we've got no AC loads. So if we had something we could plug in, we could plug into these and start taking power from there. We have our disconnects here, so we can isolate our battery if we need to do anything to the batteries, and we can turn our solar off here if we were going to do any change around with the solar. We've got our little battery monitor here telling us we've got 26.89 I think volts. So everything looks healthy, everything looks well. It proves we've got all the cables done, everything's connected as it should. So we're ready now to do some AC testing. Any questions?
Maswali?
So we can have a look on here to get some idea of the size of the system. So we can see it's a 24 volt system, so we're okay with our batteries. 5,000 watts or 5 kilowatts. 120 amp.
One question is, how should I know if it's full?
When it's full, you'll see there's a little graph here. It's in. You can see the graph goes up. So there's a bulk charge, and then there's an absorption in the middle where it's really soaking in to get to the very top, and then there's a float charge where it'll go into just trickling the current through to make sure it gets to that last 2% of the battery. So you'll see the current will dramatically drop down as the batteries get more and more charged until it goes to a very, very low level.
And it stops to receive the power if it's full?
If it's full, it'll just stop.
Okay.
But if you can imagine the cycle of a day. So during the day we have light and sun. We're going to take that power from the sun through our panels into our batteries. We're not using electricity much during the day because we don't need lights. So it's going to charge the batteries during the day, and then at night, when they start using lights, we're getting no power from solar, so we're going to discharge the batteries. So we'll have a full cycle of charging during the day and very limited use, so high use at night and no charging. So the batteries will go up and down with the cycles of the day.
And how about in the rainy season?
In the rainy season we'll still get light and we'll still get sun, and also the rain will help clean the panels, so it can also help with that way of getting the best absorption for our panels. It's so dusty here, these panels will need to be cleaned every day, and when we have rain it'll clean them really well. And the rain, how many hours does the rain last? 2 hours?
It's been sometimes all day.
So we will get days, and that's where we need to do the education, that if we have days of low light, cloud, lots of rain, then we'll know we're not going to get as much power here. So using things that use a lot of power will will be discouraged during those times. But we'll be able to see where we are with the little graph and the little colour monitor on how far you are with your charging cycle and how strong the batteries are. So you become more connected with the system in a way that you need to think more about how you use energy. So if we have normal cables from Tedesco here, then we just plug in and use. But we have to understand if we use a lot and it's rainy season, then we could run low on power. So we need to make sure that we understand what our power usage is. So things like electric flat irons and things like that, they use a lot of power. Cooking, those electric rings for cooking, again, they use a lot of power.
These.
TVs, refrigerators, air conditioning.
I see that there's 4 panels, isn't it? It's for need to, if we can disconnect this one panel, it's going to work.
If you disconnect one panel,
but here I see there's 4 panels. Yeah.
maybe I misunderstand. Why would you want to disconnect?
No, if it's if
Yeah,
it's
one disconnects,
yeah.
it just keeps working. It can work on 1 panel or 4 panels or 6 panels.
Okay.
So these 4 panels are ideal for this part of the world, on this angle, with this amount of sun, for this size system. So everything is a balance. So we balance the size of the batteries to the size of the panels to the amount of sun, specifically in this area of Tanzania. So everything is in balance. So adding more panels isn't necessarily going to help, because these panels are more than adequate to charge the battery very quickly. So if we add more battery, we add more panel, but then we know that this is rated at 5,000. So maybe we have to add another one of these to be able to use that additional power.
What will happen if the projector is still on the classroom and while we are charging here?
It works the same. So during the day, if they're using energy, then it's more effective for the system, because if nobody's using energy during the day, we'll charge the batteries quick and there's no load. So the batteries will sit there. In essence, we're losing a little bit of power we could have from the sun. So if they want to charge phones or use energy for charging batteries or anything like that, it's best during the day, because we can recover that energy in the day. So in the evening time when the sun's down, if they want to charge batteries, we can't recharge our battery. So anything that they need to use for doing charging or use of that energy during the day is best, so that we can recover with the solar. We can get best use out of that. And then in the evening we're just using lights, so that we don't keep discharging our battery at night to the very bottom and then we have to spend all day charging it up. What we really want to see is a very linear usage of the battery. So used during the day for charging, phones, everything else, and then at evening for lights. So we have a good distribution of power usage throughout the day and evening, so that our batteries are never charged full, sit there and then discharged to the bottom at night and then charged full during the day. We like a nice linear usage of power. Good question.
And if you add another 4 panels, what it will be happen to this system? Because this system, I think it has made to cover 4 panels.
It's designed for these 4 panels. If we put 4 more panels on,
yeah,
it would just charge twice as quick.
But when you add another panel for 4 panels, now it will be 8 panels.
If we put
And
8 panels on,
yeah,
we could add 2 more if we wanted to and just reconfigure how we've cabled them in. But if the more panels we had, the faster it will charge. But if we understand the cost, if we add 2 more panels, it charges in, say, 6 hours. When we know with these it'll charge in 8 hours. So what are we really saving? We're just costing more money for panels when we don't really need them.
And when you added another four panel, did they add another two batteries, or you can use this only?
We
two
could
panels?
use those same batteries, but again it would just charge the system up faster, and we're not getting the most effective use of how much things cost for how much energy we get. So it's if we added more panels, then we'd add more batteries and
Another system.
5,000 watt system. And then we're maximizing the amount of sun and light and power into those batteries, because we need a very nice balance. Otherwise we're paying for bigger batteries that we'll never use, or if we put a 10,000 watt system in, we'll never use 10,000 watts because the batteries might only be 5,000 watts. So we need to make sure everything is in balance and in synchronous with the sun, the light, the area in the country, the angle that the panels are at, the size of the battery, size of the inverter, the size of the charger. So we just buy the most cost-effective unit that works together well.
But this is another clarifying. I don't know if Abbott was also thinking this, but if a situation was, say we wanted 4 more panels, then the current batteries would be sufficient, right? Because there wouldn't be a need to increase.
No,
unless you want to,
we could charge the batteries faster if we needed to be.
But we wouldn't need more batteries, is what I'm saying. Like, say there was additional growth and we got an investment for another wiring additional buildings, and we got 4 more panels. We don't need to add more batteries.
No.
Those are sufficient. I think that's his question.
The batteries are sufficient to do that, but if we're wiring more buildings, then the use will increase.
Of course.
And then we may run out of power at certain times in the evening or during the day. And if we need to make sure that we've got lights for security at night, then we need to balance the system to make sure we're not pulling too much power during the day.
I think this panel, there is the rain can penetrate here. What's going to happen when that things happen?
When it rains, so when it wash the panels here, but this is you can see it's water sealed.
So no problem.
So no problem with that. And we put these glands in here, and they're all sealed as well. So one thing that we have, especially in Africa with units, is they're warm inside. So lizards and reptiles, they go inside and lay eggs. We get snakes, lizards, all sorts of things live inside, especially ants and bugs and other things. So we always make sure we do very, very tight seals to stop any insects coming in, because they can cause, snakes can get in and cause short circuits across terminals because they lay across everything, and of course we don't want dirt and soil and anything else getting in there as well.
Any more questions? Ask whatever questions you have.
5,000 VA, you can use the TV, fridge.
If you use the TV and fridge, it would use the power very fast. So if a fridge is, say a fridge and a TV was 500 watts, then in 10 hours you would have no battery left with a 5,000 watt battery. So they're very inefficient for energy.
We use one TV.
So TV still, we'd have to see the size of TV, but it's not a very efficient system.
32 inches. If you use TV.
We'd have to see what they are. Even if it's a 500 watt TV, it would last 10 hours. If it's 250 watt, then you'd get 20 hours. But things like TVs, anything with refrigeration, air conditioners, fridges, icebox, freezers, they all use a lot of electricity.
And can you just restate, so in terms of what should not be used in any of these outlets, refrigerators, TVs, irons, I just want to make sure that we are very assertive in terms of, yes, we have power and we have energy and we have sockets in some of the classrooms, but we can absolutely not have certain appliances plugged in, such as irons. It's going to fry everything. So if you can just restate.
So there's 2 reasons why we can't do that. The first is that the system's not designed for high usage elements, like we said, irons, refrigeration, TVs. The other reason is the main breaker panel has the sockets connected to it, and it's got a low ampage. So if somebody does plug one of those in, it'll throw the breaker, and then all the sockets will go off in the whole school. So it's the school is not designed to have those types of equipment plugged into those sockets. So there's a safety feature to stop that causing any problems.
Have seen any questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question here. Maybe we have no any usage. Maybe in the office or in the classroom, we can manage to switch on maybe TV.
Again, it's about the education that if we use the TV, then we may not have lights at night, because we're going to compromise what we need for security and everything else. So we have to understand what we can connect to it with its power usage. And we'll go through, when we've connected all the lights, we'll do a little plan of how much power each light will take, and then we can make some calculations on the power usage and how much solar we get, just to show how much energy we're going to use at night and how much energy we can use during the day, so we can balance that out and give examples like we could charge 20 phones during the day and we'd still be okay with lights. If I put a TV on, we'd only get 3 hours of lights. So just to give some ideas of power usage in hours.
And it also depends on the type of TV they're going to plug in. So I think what I've told Yassine is not to plug TVs in, because I don't know what kind of TVs there are, because unless we know what the wattage is of those TVs, or iron or anything like that, I mean, we don't want to compromise the system.
No, we can do a training exercise as long as we can go through the lights, and then we can look at everything else that's plugged in, and we can see on the specifications on each piece of equipment what the wattage is,
right?
And then we can draw a graph and do these calculations very easily, and it'll allow you, when we're not here or in the future, to be able to understand how you calculate your energy.
That's good.
Maybe a math assignment for the kids. They can do a math problem. How much energy is the school using?
I don't know. I don't know now.
It'll be a math problem.
So the other thing we have, I'll just close this door here.
Can you explain this? This.
So we have this panel here that allows security people or somebody coming to do testing or any work, that we have these multi-sockets that allow any plug to be connected, and these USBs for phone charging or anything that uses a USB. We also have these sockets here for USB, so there's plenty of sockets here that people could use if they were here as a monitored system, if they weren't access to the school. And this is obviously like the cigarette chargers that you have in the car for phone charging or other things. So we have these additional, they're all watertight connections, and then all these breakers are trip breakers. So instead of it being a wire that burns out, that we have to replace the wire, these will just pop, and then we can just pop them back. We have some other lights here that will tell us if we have a low battery, when our AC is going out, so that we know if we've got AC going out, and also AC input. So we have the option here that we can put AC in from a generator.
USB cable in order to test. I have the USB.
Well, it's not live now because it's still doing the school. But once they've done the panel, we can test. So this allows AC input from a generator or from the mains power if we needed to charge the batteries in an emergency or something like that. So this is another way that we can gain access to power in the system. If there's some problem with the breaker panel or some other issue with the school, we can still get power here. This on-off, that just isolates this whole panel so that we've got some safety in here as well.
So one question that came up is, so do you see this mesh over here?
Yes.
And there's a lot of wind and sand in this area, in this region. So is there any potential issue? I see there's nothing in there.
No, this is obviously stop insects and everything coming out, and this is just give some airflow to the top. So we have some vents here to let air in, and we have some other vents in here. So it's more to just keep airflow going and keep the unit cool. But this really helps with the solar above. As you can see, it keeps a lot of the system in the shade. So obviously helps keep the unit cool. The
Great.
batteries aren't so susceptible to heat,
Mm-hmm.
and there's lots of airspace inside there as well to circulate.
Can you show us the other side of the system, and
course.
so I can see the batteries? I can put them in the picture.
So I've just turned this on here if you wanted to just go and get your charger and test here. And I know you're keen to do that.
And,
We'll come back to that in a minute. So here's our batteries. We've just done a temporary install at the moment, just to get the system up and running. So we have two batteries in here. These will give all our power for the whole system. And if we take a look at what we have here, we can see the spec of the system here. 25.6 volts, 102 ampere hours. So we've got 204.8 with these together, so very, very strong batteries. And these are 2.6 watt hours. So that gives us our 5,000 watts. These are 51 amps. And our range is 20 to 28. So obviously when it's 28 it's charged, and when it's 20 it's going to be very low. So very powerful, very strong, very unique battery.
can you tell them that they're lithium-ion? And
Lithium-ion and the prismatic setup, they're very, they're only produced by one company in the US. They're very strong, very robust, very powerful, and they're not susceptible to heat, whereas we have our lead acid batteries. If we overcharge our lead acid batteries, they buckle, so you see the plastic fall. And also if we try and put too much current in a lead acid battery, we get gassing effect. They give off more hydrogen gas, which is flammable, and also dangerous for the battery itself because it will expand the battery. So overcharging can be quite common, especially with solar, because we get a lot of power coming through, and these have no problem with that at all. They're a complete different chemistry, a complete different way of building a battery. So they have more longevity, they're not susceptible to heat, they're not susceptible to overcharging, and they can work at a very low state of charge. So you know on your phone when you see the bars going less and less and less, and then your phone switches off, this is how these work. They can go all the way down to 0 and then just switch off, and then we can charge back up. So we get the full use of the battery. With a lead acid battery, we don't like to go below half of the capacity of the battery, like a car battery. If I use a car battery and I discharge it to the bottom and charge it up and discharge it to the bottom, it never really gets back to its full state of charge. And if we use a car battery for lights or for power, then the battery will not last very long at all. After a few weeks, the battery's dead. This battery is designed to be able to go all the way down to 0 and back again. They're very high spec, very strong, very powerful battery. Ideal for Africa because of the way that they're designed for US military use. So they're designed for abuse, they're designed in the field, they're designed to be charged, discharged whenever they can. So they work very well here, that there's no maintenance and nobody has to worry about if they're overcharging or if they need to do any maintenance. We just connect them up and forget about them.
Sorry. Approximately how many computers we may use at the same time?
So we've got laptop computers.
Yeah.
So I expect they're only like 100 watts or something like that. So you could easily use 5 or 6 at any one time if they all need charging. But during the day, it's very good. We can use that energy that we're getting from the sun that's not going. If we've filled the batteries, we can use that to charge the computers.
Okay.
So we can go through and see what computers you have and calculate how many watts they are. And I'll do some calculations today on how much current and power this solar system is drawing, and then we can calculate what the best use is. But it's got a lot of power, and I think really anything that we want to connect as far as computers and chargers for the school, we're going to be able to do that. we charging the back? Sorry.
Another question. I know. I know here in Tanzania we don't have this battery. I don't think if we have it.
No. This battery is where it says that it's 20 to 28 volts. So it's not compatible with any other batteries or any other system. So if somebody took that battery and tried to use it in the car, it would not work. If somebody used it in any other system, it wouldn't work. So it's only designed for this system. It can't be used on anything else. It's absolutely useless for anything. And nobody would ever be able to charge it up again.
But the battery.
No, you can't use a car battery. They're completely different things. It's like comparing an elephant to a giraffe. They're just not the same animal. So the car battery works in a completely different way. The car battery's got acid in and lead. This is nothing like that. It's like your phone battery and a car battery. You can't use your phone battery in a car or to do anything else. So this battery will have no use for anybody if they don't have the whole system. They can get 20 volts out of it and then it'll die, and then there's nothing they can do with it. There's nothing inside it that's of any value. There's nothing that they can use it for. So the days of lead acid batteries where people can take them and reuse them, they're 12 volts. These are not. These are specially designed for only this system. So they're without any use other than connected to this. Even on another solar system, they won't work.
So if it's going to die, but yeah, this guy is going to.
These batteries are warranted for 3,000 cycles. So if we look at a whole day being a cycle, so they'll do 3,000 days or around 10 years.
10 years.
So that's why we want to move away from lead acid, because with lead acid I might be buying another lead acid battery in 18 months, because the heat, the overcharging destroys the lead acid batteries very quickly. Whereas these batteries, they can take the abuse of overcharging, they can take the abuse of discharge down to zero. It has zero effect on them. They're not comparable with lead acid. They're a complete different chemical makeup.
Any more questions? Sorry, the sun is better this way. There's a lot of shade.
And Dada, can you charge? Have you tried? Let's see, this will be the first thing in the system.
It's changing.
Are we happy?
It's charging.
That's good. Lock it up. Nobody else can charge.
Any more questions before this training session is over?
Yeah, I have one question here. I need to understand. Maybe during morning we start our school early in the morning, so we may start our school with using this energy, or we may
No, because we get sunlight at 6 AM. So this we can see. Let's just have a quick check how many watts we're getting here. So we're getting 818 watts of sun power.